So, frogs, how you feeling? Stupid?
We're not frogs. We're toads.
The Battletoads.
We're famous superheroes.
This just in. No, you're not. This has been Julie Saturn Rings asking, what are they going to do now?
Hey everybody, and welcome to this episode of a run through. So today I'm going to be taking a look at Battletoads. It just came out on the Xbox Game Pass, and then it'll be releasing on Steam later today. So it's a three-person side-scrolling beat 'em up. I played obviously most of it by myself. It is, I'll say, starting off, like I'm generally not the hugest fan of side-scroll beat 'em ups. I tend to lose interest rather quickly. I will say this one though. Kept me going for quite a while, even after I finished kind of recording for the review. I ended up playing a little bit more, and I think it's fun. I will say the art style obviously is probably the most striking part of it, and I think they do really well with it. They've sort of positioned it to look like a Sunday, like a kid's cartoon, like a Saturday morning cartoon, which I think if they put out a cartoon aside this, I would not be surprised whatsoever, because it seems like that is maybe the intention, or at least to reboot the franchise as a whole, like to maybe do that down the line. That being said, I think some of the voice acting is a little hit or miss. Some of the secondary characters especially, the main ones aren't so bad, but the secondary ones kind of are a little rough at times. I'll also say I don't love the humor in it. Some of it is great. I would say, like, when it hits really well, it's like Teen Titans Go, I think, in the way that the comedy in that show works. I think they hit on I think they realize their audience is split. It could be children getting in it the first time, and then people that have known the series for a long time. The story itself is sort of based around them, which is already surprising. They have a lot more of a narrative focus than I kind of thought there would, but the story is sort of based around the frogs have been in a bunker for 26 years, I believe, which is, I imagine, the last time a game came out, and they were in a simulation that whole time, and so now they're getting out into the real world. They had to get jobs, and then they're trying to figure out what happened, so they break the fourth wall-ish a bit, and then sort of are going out to travel through time to figure out what happened to them. I think they do a pretty good job with the story so far, at least from what I've played. I think it's gripping enough, and then narratively it makes sense. And then, by virtue of this, just them being away as a franchise for so long, they sort of see themselves as superheroes, but they are not anymore. Not that they kind of ever were, really, I don't think, in the same capacity as most, but I think that plays sort of into their character a little bit more as well. So that being said, I think the combat in the game feels really good. Like it's super tight, and the combo system works really well. I'd say that my only one I don't love is the to break shields you have to sort of hold down the B button and then let it actually hit. And I think sometimes I think the hold on it is a little weird, and then not every B move does it. Only like the direct hold with no direction. So that's a little strange. That can feel a little weird, especially because you're moving the stick around a lot and kind of doing all these combos and whatnot. So it feels a little disjointed with that one, but you get used to it. I'll say I didn't find a way to do a grapple of any kind, but there is you can use your tongue to sort of grab enemies and pull them closer to you, or grab the flies there, which are for health, and then you can also spit gum like you just saw there, and sort of freeze them in place for a bit. But you can pull from the ground to the air, and then from the air to ground, vice versa, all that. So you have a lot of room to sort of work with your with your tongue, which sounds weird, but you have a lot of to throw that into combos. It works really well. And then, as you see here too, there's also quite a few different kind of mini games that are scattered throughout and kind of placed in there, which sort of divvies up the just continual punching and kicking, which I appreciate. And I think a lot of them are pretty simple, but they've seemed to get progressively harder. So all that being said, obviously Battletoads is known as a progressively difficult game, or one of the more difficult platformers of the NES, and it seems like I'm not going to say this one's not difficult, because I definitely, some of the combat scenarios, it seemed pretty tough, but it seems like a lot of it is just mitigated by the damage that you take. I have later on, I can't remember if I have it in the recording or not, but later on there's a enemy that shoots spitballs, and they'll put like 2 or 3 of them in there, and it'll hit for like, it feels like 55 to 60% of your health almost every time you get hit by one. And there's like 2 or 3 at a time kind of shooting. And if you dodge in any direction other than into it, and even sometimes then it'll still take the damage. So it seems like some of the difficulty is just mitigated more with the actual damage you receive opposed to actually difficulty in the combat mechanics. But it's hard to say. I'm still pretty early on in it. I think I'm only 2.5 hours in, so you know, maybe that changes. I'll say too, with the combat, there's some enemies that are more specific, like these ones here. They need to be dodged before they can do damage, or before you can damage them rather. And then those ones that are sitting and doing electricity, you can't get near them, stuff like that. You can switch between any toad at any time, and then you also will automatically switch if you die, and then they'll gain health as they're out of combat or dead. They'll sort of regenerate, similar to like some fighting games and stuff like that, or maybe even other brawlers. I'm not super familiar with a lot of them, but I think it's more commonplace, so we get the idea of that. I'll say with this one too, one thing I really liked is the dodge is really snappy and it's really generous. Like, you can dodge a ton, so you can kind of use that to your advantage, or I feel like the game will probably make you use it more often than you would maybe want to at times, or maybe abuse it a little bit. There's also a mechanic later on too with going back into the stage. Like the stage will be on 2 planes, and so you'll kind of shift between them. Which I think is super neat, and especially if you're playing with multiple people, one could sort of zip out and do the back side, one could do the front side, which I think is really cool. And I think it's all set up really well. Like, it's a really nice package. Like, it's presented really well, it plays really well. All the sounds and stuff are really good. I think, like I said, I think my only major caveat with the game so far has been just some of the writing. Like I said, feels a little dated, but I realize they're trying to target, I think, 2 different audiences here, so I get why that is the way that it is. And because I feel like more so like half of it would hit for kids, half will hit for adults, and then both parties are going to miss about half of it, I think, overall. But yeah, I mean, that's it. I bring that up just because it seems more narrative focused than I thought it would be getting into it, which is good. I'll say too, comparing it to the first one, or the original one, I guess, rather, I haven't seen a way to pick up any items and fight with them, because I know, like, before there was like these stilt walkers, you would take their legs and fight with those, but I haven't seen anything like that, like any kind of pickup weapon or anything. The only real pickup I've seen is there's like these 5 diamonds throughout each level, and then there's the flies, and then later, when you get the ability to use gum, you shoot some stuff in the background, and there's usually like a star at the end based on you doing that. And then, as you can see, there's like a score for your ranking, sort of like Devil May Cry and all that, how it's, you know, the better you do, the more combos and all that, the higher score you get. I think that's kind of it, though. I don't want to show too much. I will say the biggest complaint I've had with the game so far and I'll skip to it here. Hold on. Okay, so this is gonna be the thing I've had the issue with. It's I don't know how many of these sections are in the game. I mean, based on what happens in the story, it doesn't seem like there will be more than one. So maybe that's why they tried to do this here. You're gonna see it switch a couple different times, but this stage went on for 9 minutes, and that was generous. That was with only screwing up a few times, but I checked at the end, and there is a diamond for finishing it in under 8.5 minutes. But you can't, obviously, you're not in control of your speed or anything like that. It's just based on you not hitting anything. So ideally, if you don't make any mistakes, or maybe 1 or 2, you would finish this thing in, almost 9 minutes. Which is pretty insane. This is also, I believe, the second stage. It's like you do a preliminary stage, you get some of the story of what happened, and then, as you'll see there too, like, some of the jumps just, I don't know. It's hard to tell what they are, and I know in the original game too, the things you were kind of dodging against would sort of appear and kind of what was it? They were like tune in and out, and then they would show up in the map, and you'd have to jump over them. It's a little hard to explain, but if you played it, you know what I'm talking about. And so maybe they were trying to invoke that a little bit by virtue of this being the way that it's set up. But it's crazy, and like you're gonna see like 4 different types of stage, and every single one of them was in this one 10-minute span. Now, if they never do this again, then I think it's maybe fine. I don't know, but it's a lot. it's a whole lot to do. And there's checkpoints and all that, so it's generous with that. But yeah, it's just like there. I just got an achievement for dodging a close call of 75 items, and I think this is now the last section here that I'm going through. So it's just a lot. It's just a lot. It like kind of just overstays its welcome quite a bit. So get prepared for that. But the game itself is fun, and it's not to say that this part isn't fun, but it's just some of the jumps don't feel tight enough, or you feel like you did dodge it or something and it just didn't quite happen. So yeah, there's also a slide mechanic between either side, which I could have used a little bit more. But yeah, it's just a lot, and I think that's like the major criticism I have so far. But and I guess I will quickly note too, because I guess I didn't mention it, but all the frogs do, or toads again, sorry, they all play differently. So like the biggest one, you're a lot stronger, but you're a little slower. And then the one I've been playing, I believe, is Zit. I'll know when their names pop up again. Yes, Zitz. He's like the fastest, most agile one, and I ended up liking him the most. And then Rash is like in between both. They all feel pretty good. I'd say the slower one I don't like as much, but he does do a ton more damage. Like most enemies, it's like 3 to 4 hits, as opposed to like 20 or 30. But yeah, so that is another thing to mention, is they do have different ones there. But yeah, I think that's it. I think it's worth picking up. I think it's a solid game so far. As long as it doesn't drop dramatically off in the back half, I think it's definitely worth playing if you're a fan of these type of games, or just a fan of Battletoads in general. I think they reference the originals quite a bit, so that's, I think, fun to see it all updated and whatnot. But yeah, if you guys, as always, thanks for watching, and if you have any other games you'd like me to play, please leave in the comments, and I will see you guys in the next one.